So, Sage has a review here, and that is for the game of the year for 2024, Astro Bot. Sage, let us know about this game. Give you some.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, man, those awards I think were well deserved. Uh, this game has a sense of delightfulness. It is charming. It is brightly colored. It is fun. It has the sort of engaging music design that you probably just don't see in games that much anymore. A lot of people said this when it came out last year, and I wondered how true it would feel when I got to play it for myself. But this really is kind of the Mario 64 of the PlayStation. I don't think that there has probably ever been a platformer on this series of consoles that has been so tightly designed and so it feels so smooth. I mean, I had no issues from like a technical perspective throughout this entire thing. It runs like butter, like just out of the package, just perfect frame rate, perfect like mechanics always feel like they're working the way they should. In terms of function, like it is just as functional as you could ask for a video game to be. And it does have just this really wonderful design. You could easily, something like this could easily be like cutesy for the sake of being cutesy, or, like certain animated films that I won't name, where it's just kind of appealing to like a young kids without a lot of depth in its mechanics or its design. And it especially being this kind of tribute to like PlayStation as a series of consoles and looking at it from like a merchandising perspective, you could easily, it could easily feel like tacky, like, oh, the spaceship's a PS5 and all these characters are like PlayStation characters from all these games. But it never feels like corporatized in that sense, if you know what I mean. It feels like it has this really earnest just love for video games and for the industry. And I think one of the things that helps that is that it's as much as like all of these characters and these cameos that are through the form of these bots that you rescue are all these PlayStation characters. You can see and they got up on stage and they weren't allowed to say the name Nintendo, and they even kind of pointed that out during their acceptance speech. They said, like, we'd like to thank, well, we can't name them, but you know who it is. You can see this loving affection for the games industry as a whole. And so it stretches beyond just being PlayStation. There is a deep, deep love for Nintendo present here in this game. This game would not exist. It would not be what it is without all the decades of Mario and Zelda and all of that to be pulling from as well. So it defies expectations, and like there's just you you if you play this, there is no way to come away from it with I think a cynical perspective on it. It is just it's so delightful. It is so fun. It feels good to control. Like I said, if you especially if you play video games for a long time, to get something that is like a tribute in that sense, but is so earnest about it, I like it's a special experience. It really is a special experience. I can't recommend this enough as a game. I was able to play this for free, not from a review code. I just happened to be able to get a free copy of it. But I would have paid full price for this, and I would not have regretted it. Like this is the definition of a like this is cinema level quality game.
Wow. So it's nostalgia done correctly there.
Absolutely, I would say so. Like it has this nostalgic factor to it, right? All these characters from, all the way back from the PS1 up until the most recent console. But yeah, it doesn't feel like it's just waving, like sometimes stuff like that it can feel like it's waving keys in your face and just trying to distract you with something shiny. But it doesn't. It has a real love for these things, and it and it also manages to have its own identity as a game as well. Like it never feels like it's just looking at a bunch of PlayStation stuff you've seen before. It's got like Astro Bot feels like its own fleshed out IP, and then it is also this tribute to what's come before. Um, and the lovingness that it has, it just makes it feel good without ever feeling like cash grabby. It's I never once felt like that element came into play at all.
Okay. And we saw some of the games there in the trailers there that get referenced. You got Ape Escape, you got God of War, Uncharted, Loco Roco there, Horizon, just to name a few games kind of referenced that you saw there in the trailer that you got. And yeah, I mean, people are calling it. This is the Super Mario 64 there for the PlayStation. And some people say it's one of the best platformers since we had. I mean, since Super Mario 64, it's that great. Some people say.
I mean, I probably agree with that. I mean, Nintendo, continues to innovate. I mean, for Mario Galaxy and Odyssey, and Nintendo consistently innovates in that genre. But you there has been a fall off of like these types of games on something like the PlayStation or the Xbox. Like you kind of have to go to Nintendo and only Nintendo to get a game of this type, even. And so it's a breath of fresh air for that reason, because when's the last time you had a game like this at all of any quality on the PlayStation?
Mm, yeah. And this was a sequel there, so it was a game there that came pre-installed there when you got your console called
Yeah, Astro's
Astro's
Playroom.
Playroom, yeah, so you had that initially there that was kind of installed with that, and this game came out to coincide with PlayStation's 30th year anniversary, which was last year, which, just passed there, so also that feels good that this is a celebration of all the PlayStation properties there and all the things there have come along with that. So when you say this game, outside of the references, has its own kind of personality and has its own kind of identity there. So Astrobot as a character, do you really feel like he's an actual character there?
I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a cute mascot, right? Like he doesn't talk. He makes like kind of mimed, not mimed because he makes noises, but
Like the minions or
he
something?
yeah, no, not like that. That's exactly what I said. An animated movies I won't name. That's exactly what I was thinking of. But he does feel like like something like a Crash Bandicoot did at the time, where that character never talked, right? But he did have this set of movements and physicality to him, and even though they were like it was like laughing or grunting or like kind of a little bit of like a death scream noise when you fall off the side of something, or like a that sort of set of expressions, right? It fulfills everything that you would have gotten from something like that, like a Crash or a Spyro. Well, I guess Spyro talked even back then, so I guess Crash Bandicoot or like a Mario, like way back in the day before they really gave him much of a voice, like that sort of style of mascot. And he does have. I feel like he really does have a personality and a great design that's very memorable to look at. And some of that's coming in at the sound design level too. Like the noises that he makes when he interacts with the other characters or dies or respawns or is successful or there's a lot of horror games that have been on the PlayStation. There's a Pyramid Head in this game. There's a bunch of Resident Evil characters. So there's blood. Like you go to the city from Bloodborne at one point in one level, and so there's expressions of fear that the character is. It's like a spooky level, and so he'll be afraid if you kind of don't touch the controller and just let him sit there. And it's a lot of these great sound design. I mean, a lot of this I think really comes down to how good the sound design is.
Some good sound in this scene right here.
I mean, I'd say it's probably if you probably couldn't find a scene that doesn't have some great music or sound design to the character.
Let me see. Let me play a little bit. And kind of a little bit more of
That's a very almost Luigi's Mansion esque kind of sequence.
that. Yeah.
Even just
Okay.
like the lump from the light that you're shooting is like a very satisfying noise. There's Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head has
Also,
never looked so sweet.
so it's like you're kind of collecting these different PlayStation figures there, and
Yeah, there's like a, I mean, there's a little bit of a story. I mean, it's a very light narrative, right? Like it's something you'd expect from a platformer from like the old school days. But you know, it's like at the PS5 is like the big spaceship, and you get attacked by aliens, and all the little robots in the ship get scattered across into these different galaxies, and you have to go save them. And there's, I mean, it's like 318 characters, I think, by the time you get all of them. I mean, you got characters like Peter and Miles, Spider-Man at one point. I mean, name it. If it's been on the PlayStation, it's probably in this game somewhere.
mm, okay. Um,
And this was a 50, I believe. I don't know if the exact numbers come out, but the estimation is between 50 and $70 million game.
mm,
And just considering like the inflated budgets of so many video games now, I mean, again, even though I think it's a good game, I always like to go back to because the number was so high. That's Spider-Man 2 was like $350 million. And again, good. But if you can make something this that is like Astrobot that is of this quality for 50 to 70 million, why aren't we seeing more games of this budget that you know will have be far more likely to have a financial return on them? Where there's just so many games where they have these unbelievable multi-hundred-million-dollar budgets, and then they're failures. And then, like, right from a financial perspective, even if the games themselves are good, it just happens all the time. And then you get the layoffs and the shutdowns and the studio closures, and something like this is able to come out and do so much of everything what that people want for a fraction of the budget. So
yeah. And so this game right here, it says this game has sold 1.5 million units as of November 2024, making it one of the best-selling PlayStation 5 games there. So it did really well there. Like I said, numerous awards there, including Game of the Year that it won. It was did really super well there. And you would say after playing it now, I mean, it's pretty well deserved there.
I think so. I think so. I mean, I 100% give it this is cinema. Um, I think it is a pretty flawless platformer. It does everything right. It's fun. It's changing what you're doing constantly. It's changing the aesthetic of the environment constantly. You're constantly having to use slightly different gameplay mechanics to maneuver in areas. It it and it's never boring. I mean, I got about like just shy of 30 hours out of it to do everything. I got the platinum trophy and everything for this. I mean, it wasn't that difficult ultimately. Although there's a couple spots that are some more challenging levels. There's like time trials and a master challenge after you beat kind of the main story. That was actually pretty tricky, but it just is. It's just so satisfying. It is just one of the most satisfying games I've played in a long time.
Mm. It was nominated for Game of the Year, which it won, Best Game Direction, which it won. It was also nominated for Best Art Direction, Best Score and Music, Best Audio Design. It won for Best Action/Adventure Game and Best Family Game, as well. Is there an option for for another person to hop in and do any dual missions together?
There isn't, although that would be one of the only things you could probably do to make it better. So here's hoping in the sequel, maybe.
Yeah, it seems like the type of game that would, yeah, really benefit from something like that. Have another player there add on to it, as well. There, yeah. I mean, since you gave it a this is sim, I guess you got no real downsides with this game at all. There,
I really don't. I mean, I didn't even have like technical problems with it. It ran
no
so
glitching.
well. No glitches, no nothing really in that sense. It always felt straightforward. It always felt smooth. Frame rate was perfect. I mean, I never even had like frame dropping or slowdown or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, this game was immaculately put together.
Yeah. How long is it?
I got, it was like just, I think like 27 and a half hours is what I got. And that was platinum. That was doing every time trial. That was doing like the master challenge that unlocks after the story. that was getting like every single like character from every single level and making sure that you just like missed literally nothing. So just shy of 30 hours for me to do everything.
So people can get it, so a standard, if you want the standard edition, people can get it for 59.99, so about 60 plus bucks there. And if you want the deluxe digital edition, that's 69.99. Do you know what comes? Like, what's the like?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's a digital soundtrack, digital art book, and then I think there's like maybe a couple extra costumes in the game that you get from it. I was able to get the game for free, very fortunately. So I have what I got was the digital deluxe edition. I mean, the art book and the soundtrack's fun, especially if you're like super into the music. Personally, I would prefer like a physical soundtrack with like a physical version of the game, because you know the digital version of the soundtrack, you're only going to be able to listen to that through an app on the PS5. It's not like
Oh,
you
okay.
can, get that and soundtrack and like install it somewhere or put it on an iPod or something. So,
I
that
don't.
mileage will vary on how much you get out of that, but it's fun, and for a game that was so good, like I probably would have been willing to just give them the extra $10 just because I think they deserve it.
Hmm, okay. So yeah. Sage gives Astro Bot a This Is Cinema. People can pick it up right now. 60 bucks there, like I said, and then 70 bucks for the digital deluxe edition there. If you want to pick it up there. Yeah, very, very awesome. So high praise from Sage there. Hey, one of the best games of 2024 for a reason.